welcome back to the Stone Dogs 40k. This is a 1750 point battle between Space Marines and Necrons. This isn't really so much about the armies, this is actually about the mission. I'm going to be playing a new mission created by me for this channel. This is from a series of missions called the Fires of Anarchy. This mission is called Cradle of Death. So, in Cradle of Death, two armies clash in the war-torn remnants of an ancient city. In order to be victorious, each army must consolidate its troops in the centre of the battlefield. Failure to do so could mean complete annihilation. Orbital bombardments have been preset to hit coordinates close by imminently. So the way this works is, we take the centre point of the battlefield and then draw 4 lines, one to each corner. And then 18 inches down each line, we place a objective marker. So we've got 18 inches this way, we've got number 2, and then we've got number 3 here, and then number 4 just here, and then number 1 just here. So that creates a rectangle in the centre of the table. We then deploy, and we've deployed as frontline assault for this game. It doesn't really matter, you can use any of the deployment maps for this mission. First turn is done in the normal way, so player who finished deploying first adds 1 to their roll, and then the winner chooses who takes the first turn after the roll off. You can then seize the initiative if you want to. So starting from battle round 2, this is a rule called War of Attrition. So starting from battle round 2, any player who controls any objective marker can elect to loot the objective. So they immediately achieve 2 victory points, and the corresponding objective marker is then removed from the battlefield. So once that marker is removed, we then need to replace it with something else just to mark that point on the battlefield. And then the Cradle of Death mission rule is at the end of each battle round, roll a d6 for any units that are not wholly within the central area between the 4 markers. So any units that are not wholly within this central rectangle, you roll a d6 for them. On a 6, that unit suffers d6 mortal wounds as the orbital bombardment rains down. Any units that are destroyed in this way do not count towards any victory conditions, including awarding points for strategic or tactical objectives. Battle is 5 rounds long, so no random battle length. The battle uses strategic objectives, so each player must draw 3 cards at the start of the battle, and then at the end of each of their turns they must draw 3 more, up to a maximum of 6. In terms of victory conditions, we have consolidation protocols, so score 1 victory point for every friendly unit which is wholly within the central area at the end of the battle. We then have slay the warlord, first strike, and line breaker. So this is the first playthrough of this mission, so it'd be interesting to see how it all pans out. Let's get stuck in. So the Space Marines won the roll-off, and then the Necrons seized the initiative, so took the first turn. In terms of the movement phase, we've done some advancing just to get these units further up the board. Moved the Annihilation Barge to the central area. The Tomb Blades have advanced up just here. Imatech used his My Will Be Done and got an extra few inches on for him and the Immortals, and then the Ghost Ark, and these guys have moved just into the middle, not quite fully in the middle, but nearly in the middle. And then the Catan has advanced up to the central area. Destroyers are in the central area, and the Wraiths just over behind the rocks on their right flank. In terms of powers of the Catan, Cosmic Fire is not within range, it's 9 inches, and for Transdimensional Thunderbolt, managed to get a mortal wound off the Redemptor and 1 mortal wound off of the squad of Intercessors just to the left there. The rest of the units along this little stretch were undamaged. So that's the end of movement. It is the shooting phase next. So at the end of the shooting phase for the Necrons, sporadic damage across the Space Marine lines, combined fire from the Necron warriors, and the Tomb Blades have taken out a couple of the intercessors from here and drop one down to 1 wound. There's 1 intercessor gone from this unit after being shot at by the what are they called? They are the Immortals. The Redemptor has had 5 wounds taken off by fire from the Annihilation Barge and the Gaze of Death from the Catan. And then just down here there's a intercessor gone and 1 on 1 wound, or 2 intercessors gone I should say, and 1 on 1 wound after fire from the destroyers and several of the Necron warriors just down here. And then finally 3 wounds off the Dreadnought just here after the I want to call it a Night Shroud fired into it and managed to get some damage. So that's the end of shooting. There are no charges at this phase, at this stage I should say, so obviously no morale to speak of. So that's the end of Necron's turn number 1. Now one of the mission rules is that we need to draw an additional 3 cards. So we started with Area Denial. Score 1 victory point if there are no enemy models within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield at the end of your turn. So we scored that point. However, there are, I might have to check for 12 inches because we might have got the D3 on that one. No prisoners. Score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during your turn. That's not happened. Dust and Ashes. That one we nominated Imitek the Stormlord, who needs to be alive at the end of the game in order to score 1 more victory point. So we actually need to draw 3 cards. So secure objective 6, which is not on the board, so we can't score that one. Defend objective 4 and defend objective 1. Okay, so that's 1 victory point for the Necrons at the end of their turn number 1. Yeah, so having checked, the Redemptor's actually only 10 inches away from the middle of the board, so we can't score D3, so just a slight correction to that, because we did actually get Line Breaker as well for that unit just over there, so it's 2 victory points at the end of turn 1 for the Necrons. End of Space Marines movement for turn number 1. Predator has just moved forwards into the craters. No movement here, no movement here. The Chapter Master and the Librarian and these 3 intercessors have just moved around this building. The Dreadnought has not moved. The bikes have just standard moved forwards. Could have advanced them, but they wouldn't have been able to shoot. And then the Hellblasters have stayed put inside the building. So that's the end of the movement phase. The Apothecary managed to get a wound back onto this intercessor just here. So he's used his Narthesium nice and effectively. So it's Psychic next. So Psychic phase, the Librarian cast a Smite onto the Catan. Is actually just very slightly closer than the Flyer just over here, and got 6, so 3 mortal wounds, and then cast Lightning Call and managed to get 2 wounds off, taking the Catan down to 3. So that was D3 mortal wounds. Unit's not destroyed. Roll a D6 on a 4+. We get another mortal wound, which we do not. So the end of Psychic. Shooting is next. End of Space Marines shooting. The bikes have managed to get a couple of wounds off the Wraiths over on this flank. The destroyers have been taken out by both the las cannon on the Dreadnought and the Hellblasters with their plasma incinerators. There is a couple of the Immortals gone from here after being shot at by the intercessors all across here. And then finally the Tomb Blades have been annihilated after being shot at by the Predator. So, and yeah, sorry, and shots from the Redemptor as well. So that's the end of shooting. There is a charge phase. We're going to do a charge over here with the bikes into the wraiths, and they get a 4, which isn't enough. Not going to bother re-rolling that. That's the only charge, so no psychic, sorry, no morale to speak of. That's the end of the Space Marines turn number 1. So we get 1 point for first strike for taking out the destroyers. 1 victory point if a unit fell back. Didn't get that one. Clean kill. Select one of you. Oh, we didn't actually select that model, so I'll have to save that for next turn. And then finally defend objective 4. Objective 4 is right over there, so we're not on that one at the moment. So I need to draw 3 more cards. So we get mounted assault. We get defend objective 6, which we can't score. And defend objective 3. Now objective 3 is this one just over here. So quite literally 1 victory point for the Space Marines for their first turn. So let's see what happens in Necron's turn number 2. So also, as we're at the end of battle round number 1, we need to determine whether any units have been hit by the orbital bombardment. So we're going to just do it randomly around the table. So the wraiths, okay, so they scored a 6, so they get d6 mortal wounds for 5. The bikes, they don't get hit. The dreadnought doesn't get hit. Whatever this is called doesn't get hit. Hellblasters in the building, 2 units. One gets hit with 1 mortal wound. Not wholly within, doesn't get hit. And then we've got 2 units of intercessors. Neither of them get hit. The apothecary isn't hit. The captain isn't hit. The predator is not hit. Just bring the dice around this side. Okay, so the scarabs are not hit. Necron warriors are not hit. The overlord not hit. The cryptek is not hit. And then we've got the Ghost Ark, which is not hit. Okay, so the first orbital bombardment seems to be concentrated down at this end of the table. We've got a wound to come off here. I'm using white dice for wound markers, so need a couple from the bowl. So one of these guys is down to 1 wound remaining, and then we've got 5 wounds off over here. Now these are 3 wounds each, so that actually means that one is killed outright, that one is gone, and the remaining one is down to 2 wounds. There we go. Okay, so Necron's turn number 2 coming right up. So Necron's turn number 2, first things first, reanimation protocols on these 2, and we get 1 of those back. Okay, let's have a look at our objectives. So we've got defend objective 1. Objective 1 is just around behind this rock, so I may not be able to get to that one this turn. Defend objective 4 is just here. And then we've got Dust and Ashes, which we're still working on. That's Imatech to be alive at the end. And no prisoners. Score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during your turn. Between 3 and 5, score D3. And then 6 or more, score D3 plus 3. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, I think. So I think what we're going to do is, just to try and push us ahead while we can, we're going to loot this objective. So we're going to loot objective number 3. That's actually one of the Space Marines objectives for this turn anyway, next turn. So we'll basically replace that objective with an alternative marker. There we go, just to maintain the rectangle in the centre of the table. And then that is worth an additional 2 points. So that puts us up to 4. And then we'll see where we are at the end of this turn. So end of the Necron's movement phase. The death marks have dropped in to cover objective 4, so we need to hold that for 2 turns to get 2 victory points. This Wraith has advanced and moved across onto this objective, objective number 1, and again that is a defend, so need to hold that for 2 consecutive turns. The Ghost Ark deployed its squad of 10 Necron warriors and then moved forwards to here. The Catan just shifted forwards across onto this side of the obelisk, and then these units have just moved forwards just up to here. And the flyer, I'm going to have a look and see what that's called, because I keep forgetting what it's called. It's not a night scythe, it's something different. I think it's a night shroud, but I could be wrong. If I can find it on my list, just bear with me a moment. It's bugging the hell out of me, so apologies for having a little bit of a lapse of memory. It is, yeah, it's a night shroud. So it's got something that it can do in terms of a bombing run across the units that it flew over, which are just there. So at the end of the movement phase, then we did the Powers of the Catan, managed to take out 1 of the intercessors and get 2 wounds off the warlord just over the back there. The Catan regained 1 wound. That's the end of the movement phase, so shooting is next. So at the end of the Necron's shooting phase, they've actually been quite effective. The Predator was whittled down by all of these units and then taken out finally by the Tesla cannon on the Night Shroud. The Night Shroud also managed to take out 1 of the intercessors on its way past with, I think they're called nebula spheres or something or other. There's a couple of wounds off the Redemptor from the Annihilation Barge. The intercessor squad just here has been destroyed by combined fire from the Ghost Ark and these Necron warriors and the Catan. And also I think there was a lucky shot from the death marks in there as well. So that's the end of the shooting phase. The charge phase is next. So at the end of the charge phase, the only charge that I was desperate to do was to get the Catan into the chapter master. Rolled a 4 for the charge, which was like about 1.5 inches too short. Used a command point and rolled 4 again, basically. Attempted to recover that command point and failed. So that's the end of Necron's turn number 2, because there is no fight phase. Let's have a look at the objectives and see where we are. So we've got defend objective 1, which we're on but not achieved. Defend objective 4, which we're on and not achieved. Imatech is still on the table, and then score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during your turn. We've actually destroyed 2 units because we finished off 1 intercessor squad and destroyed the Predator, but we didn't get to 3 units, so we only get 1 victory point for that one. And I need to draw, that one's been discarded, I need to draw another 3 cards. So we get Master the Warp, so that's about manifesting powers. Defend objective 5, can't achieve that one. And Scour the Skies, 1 enemy unit that can fly, which they don't have on the Space Marine side, so I can't achieve that one either. So that with the burnt objective, which was that one there, that gives us 3 command points for the turn. That puts the Necrons on a total of 5 victory points so far, compared to 1 for Space Marines. It's Space Marines turn 2 coming up next. So Space Marines movement phase for turn number 2 is over. The bikes have done a what have they done? They've done an advance, basically a forwards to here. That puts them within around about an 8-inch charge of the death marks. The dreadnought has just moved 4 inches and 4 inches, just again to get into range of charging the wraith. The assault squad has dropped in down in the back line here, just over 9 inches away from these 2 units. Excuse me. And everything else here has just moved forwards just to get within the boundaries of the central area. And finally the Hellblasters just over the back there that were in the building have all dropped down to the ground level, with a view to moving into the central area in the next turn. So that's the end of movement. It's Psychic next, and we're going to do a smite on the Catan, which we get on a 9 for D3 mortal wounds, which is 1, so that drops him down to 2. And then we are going to do a lightning call, which goes off on a 7, and that does go off. So closest enemy unit within 18 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds for 1, dropping him down to 1. Not destroyed, so roll a d6 on a 4+, suffers another mortal wound, which he does not. That was a 1. I'm going to command point re-roll it, and we get a 5, so that is another mortal wound which kills the Catan. The Catan explodes. He's got reality unravels, so anything within 3 inches takes d3 mortal wounds. There's nothing within 3 inches of him anyway. The Ghost Arc is just out of range, and these guys are just out of range, so he is destroyed. That's the end of Psychic. It's shooting. End of the shooting phase. 5 shots from this squad into the Necron warriors caused no hits and no damage. Another 5 shots over here took out 1 of the death marks, and then the twin las cannon on the dreadnought took out the other 2. The Hellblasters shot at the Night Shroud and managed to take off 2 wounds. The rest of the Immortals are gone from the centre, and that is pretty much it for shooting. So charge phase is next. So the charges are complete. Charged the bikes around the corner into the death marks, needed to get an 8 minimum and actually rolled a 12, so they've managed to get into combat with no losses on Overwatch. And then the assault squad needed to roll a 8 and rolled a 10, and again no losses on Overwatch from 1 hit, no wounds, so those have all made it into combat with that unit of Necron warriors. That's the end of charges. It's the fight phase. So at the end of the fight phase, the bikers have managed to take out pretty much the rest of this unit. There's 1 left just here, obviously no longer in command of that objective, and then 5 of the Necron warriors gone from here, with no wounds caused in return. That's the end of the fight phase and the end of Space Marines turn number 2. So let's have a look at the objectives. So defend objective 4. We need to hold that for another turn. Clean kill. Should have nominated a unit, so I need to do that for the next turn, and we're going to make that. Going to make that Imitech. So that's Imitech the Warlord for that one for the next turn. No units fell back, and we were very close to scoring that one, but not quite. We need to take out that last death mark, and then defend objective 3. We're nowhere near that at the moment, so I need to replace that card. Get us back up to 6. So we've got defend objective 2, which we need to hold for 2 turns, and that's this one down here. So in terms of victory points for this turn, We've scored Line Breaker for the assault squad dropping in over the back there. And pretty much that's it, I think. So that puts the Space Marines on 2 victory points compared to 5 for the Necrons at the end of this turn. Just going to do the orbital bombardment and we'll see where we are. Okay, so just finally, because the Space Marines are 3 points behind and they now control through superiority objective number 4, they are, if we hold it for another turn, we get 2 points. So what we're going to do is we're going to burn that now for 2 points for the Space Marines. So we're going to replace it with that to maintain the central area. And that puts the Space Marines on 4 compared to 5 for the Necrons. So it just closes the gap just a little bit. So the orbital bombardment is complete. And the only unit that took any damage was this unit of Hellblasters, and they actually took 4 mortal wounds. So 2 of that unit have been removed, and that is fully the end of battle round number 2. So battle round 3 is about to begin. So turn 3 for the Necrons. Reanimation protocols brought back 1 Necron warrior into this unit and 2 death marks into this unit. In terms of movement, the Night Shroud has turned and moved across to this corner. These units here have just moved forwards and the Scarabs are nice and close to the Intercessors. Imatech and the central squad of Necron warriors have moved up. The Ghost Arc has just shuffled across to the right slightly, and the Annihilation Barge has stayed put. So that's the end of movement. It's shooting next, and we'll probably start down here. So end of the shooting phase for turn 3 for the Necrons. Taken out the remainder of this Intercessor unit by the Necron warriors here and here. 1 of these Intercessors gone. The Redemptor is down to 1 wound remaining after being hit by fire from the Annihilation Barge and the Ghost Arc. And pretty much that's it for shooting for the Necrons. So it's charges next. So charge phase is complete. The Scarabs have charged into the Captain in Gravis armor. Managed to get some hits on Overwatch. Scored 1 wound, but that wound was saved on a 6 by the Scarabs. And then Imatech charged into the Intercessors, no damage on Overwatch, and then the 10 Necron warriors also charged in to give him some support. That's the end of charges, and the fight phase is next. End of the fight phase, and the Gravis Captain got knocked down to 6 wounds from 7, but managed to take out 2 of the Scarab Swarms and knock the 3rd one down to 2 wounds from 3. The Imatech took out 1 of the Intercessors, and the Sergeant fought back and did no damage, and then the Necron Warriors did no damage on the Intercessor Sergeant. And then in the centre here, the Necrons managed to take out 2 of the Assault Marines. However, there are only 2 left in that unit. And here, pretty much stalemate, no damage on the death marks, but 1 wound off of 1 of the bikes. That's the end of the fight phase. So morale, there isn't anything that can fail. So we're all good there. Let's just have a quick look at the Necron objectives. So Master the Warp, we can't achieve that now because the Catan is dead. Imatech is still on the battlefield. Defend objective 4, nowhere near that one. Defend objective 1. Sorry, defend objective 4 has been burnt, so that one's gone, that was looted. Defend objective 1, we are nowhere near that objective at the moment. So let's get rid of those cards. No victory points for this turn by the looks of it, and we need to draw 3. So we get secure objective 2, which is right there, and blood and guts, score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during the fight phase, and overwhelming firepower, score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during the shooting phase. Okay, so yeah, no victory points for the Necrons this turn. So Space Marines turn 3 is coming right up. End of the movement phase for the Space Marines for turn number 3. So the Dreadnought has just done a standard move just forwards to get onto the edge of the central area within shooting range of the Ghost Ark. This squad of Hellblasters, which is the complete squad, have put a stratagem on them, Hunter's Fusillade, which basically means that if they advance, their heavy weapons become assault weapons. The other squad has just moved standard move just to get into the central area, the line for which runs right across the back of their bases. The Apothecary is going to get into support range for this melee here, and the Redemptor will probably charge in there as well when we get to that stage. In terms of other movement, that's it, to be honest. There's nothing else. We've got combat going on over there, which we've left. Bikes could have fallen back, but falling back means moving away, and actually we want them to come this way, so they need to finish off those death marks. And then finally the captain that's remained in combat just here. So that's the end of shooting. It's Psychic next. So Psychic phase, first things first, smite onto the Ghost Ark, which goes off on an 8 for D3 mortal wounds. So we get 3 mortal wounds on the Ghost Ark, that drops it down to 11. And then we've got a lightning call onto the same unit, and that fails to go off. So just the 3 mortal wounds on the Ghost Ark. So at the end of the shooting phase, a bit of a mixed bag from the Space Marines. The Apothecary, just here, took out one of these Necron warriors with his Absolver bolt pistol. Combined fire from the Redemptor Dreadnought, who's on his very lowest bracket because he's only got 1 wound, and the Dreadnought and the Hellblasters just down here managed to knock the Ghost Ark all the way down to 5 wounds, but couldn't quite do enough damage to destroy it. And then finally the 3 Hellblasters just at the back there shot at the Annihilation Barge and missed. So that's the end of shooting. It's the charge phase next, and literally all that's going to happen is that the Apothecary is going to charge into this combat, and the Redemptor is going to charge into this combat. Fight phase is next. Right, so at the end of the fight phase, the last 2 Necron warriors have been destroyed in this area here, and then the Assault Marines consolidated towards the death marks. However, the death marks were defeated in a subsequent combat, and the bikes have consolidated forwards towards the Ghost Ark. Over here, the Scarab has been killed by the captain, who's consolidated forwards. The Intercessor Sergeant has been killed, no damage done in return. The Redemptor took out one of the Necrons in the previous turn, I believe. Haven't rolled for him yet, so we're going to do that now. So he gets 4 attacks, and these are going to hit on a 5. So he gets 3 hits. These are going to wound on a 2. They all wound, and they are -3 AP versus a 4-up save for the Necron warriors. So that's another 3 Necron warriors killed. Take those away. There we go. That is the end of the fight phase, and the end of Space Marines turn number 3. Let's go and have a look at the objectives. So we had Defend Objective 3, which has been burnt. That's been looted, so that one's gone. Defend Objective 2, that's still on the table just here. Mounted assault, score 1 victory point if at least one enemy unit was destroyed as a result of an attack made by a White Scars biker or White Scars land speeder from your army. So that's a victory point for the death marks. Feigned retreat, didn't fall back this turn, and then clean kill. We'd nominated that to be Imatech. So that one again has not been achieved. So got to draw 3 more, and we get run them down. Score 1 victory point if at least one enemy model was destroyed as a result of an attack made by a White Scars model that advanced this turn. Rapid deployment. Select one objective marker that is not within 18 inches of any models from your army. If you cannot select it, then select the objective marker that is furthest from any models from your army. Score 1 victory point if you control that objective marker at the end of your turn. That's going to have to be objective number 2, which is right there, because the Dreadnought is sitting pretty much on number 1. So that'll be objective number 2. And then finally, we get secure objective 4, which is now off the table. We can't achieve that. So the Space Marines get 1 victory point this turn. That puts them on 5. So at the end of battle round 3, it's 5 victory points each. Orbital bombardment. The Night Shroud has not hit. These guys, they're just still a little bit outside. A little bit outside. Oh, here we go. So how many mortal wounds do they get? Oh, they only get 1, so that kills 1 of those guys. And then the bikers. Oh, that's cocked. They are okay. And then the only other unit that needs to be rolled for is the Dreadnought, who is okay. Right, battle round number 4 is coming up next. So the Necrons for turn number 4, reanimation protocols, brought back 1 of these Necron warriors and 2 into this unit, and then movement. This unit is advanced over onto objective 2, and then the Cryptek and the Overlord have advanced also to get into the central area. The Annihilation Barge is staying where it is, seems to be getting left alone there. And then finally, no movement here, and then the Night Shroud has moved over to here, passing over this unit of Assault Marines. So we think we've already used the bombing run for this unit for this game, so we might just have to rely on the cannons. That's it for movement. Shooting is next. End of the shooting phase for the Necrons, and started with these Necron warriors and took out the remaining 3 Hellblasters that were just down in this area. The Annihilation Barge shot at the Redemptor and did wounds, but they were saved. Bearing in mind he's only got 1 wound left. Same with the Ghost Ark, scored hits and then wounded, but they were saved. And then finally the Night Shroud shot into the bikers and did 3 wounds, so it's taken out the 1 and 1 wound and 1 additional biker. That's the end of shooting. It's charges next. So I had a brief look at charges, and actually there is nothing that's going to charge this turn. These 3 units all advanced, and then I'm going to keep these ones away for shooting. Sorry, I'm going to keep this away for Overwatch in the next turn. So yeah, so no charges, so straight into the fight phase. So at the end of the fight phase, the Apothecary had 1 wound taken off by the Necron warriors, and then Imatech did 2 hits at 2 wounds pop, so finished him off. The Redemptor then struck in and only managed to kill 1 of the Necron warriors. So that's the end of the fight phase. And the end of Necron's turn number 4. A couple of things that we're going to do. First of all is this objective. We're going to loot that for 2 points. So using this crate stack just to replace that. There we go. So objective wise, defend objective 2. Well, we've just taken that one. Feigned. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong objectives. go over the other side. Silly me. So secure objective 2. That's worth a victory point, so we've looted that one. Defend objective 1, we haven't got. Dust and Ashes, that is Imatech if he's left alive. Blood and Guts, score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during the fight phase. Yes, the Apothecary was destroyed, so that's an extra point, so that's 2 points. And then Overwhelming Firepower, score 1 victory point if an enemy was destroyed during the shooting phase. And again, we got the Hellblasters in the shooting phase. So that is 3 victory points for the Necrons for this turn. So that puts them up to 8. Need to draw 3 cards. Slaughter the Living. Secure objective 1. Secure objective 3. So 3 is no longer on the board, so we can't achieve that one. Okay, so Space Marines turn number 4 is next. So we made a slight miscalculation on the victory points for the Necrons. So for looting the objective they got 2, and then they got 1 each for the other 2 tactical objectives. So that puts them on 9 instead of 8. There we go. So Space Marines movement phase for turn 4 is complete. The Dreadnought has remained where he is. We're going to loot that objective at the end of the turn. The Hellblasters have just moved forwards, as have the Chapter Master and the Librarian. The Redemptor has fallen back. That will give me 1 victory point for Feigned Retreat. Captain has stayed where he is. And then the Assault Squad has just moved into the cover of this building inside the central area, and as have the bikes, they've just moved forwards just to get within the perimeter, just to save them from orbital bombardment at the end of the turn. So that's the end of the movement phase. Psychic is so we're throwing a Smite onto the Ghost Ark, which goes off on a 5, so that's good. D3 mortal wounds for 1. Going to command point reroll that. Excellent. Okay, so that puts the Ghost Ark down to 5 wounds, and then we're going to cast Lightning Call next. Goes off on a 7, and that fails to go off. Okay, shooting is next. So into the shooting phase, combined fire from the Dreadnought and the Hellblasters and these 2 units and the Assault Squad managed to take out the Ghost Ark, which didn't explode. Shots from the Warbikes into this squad took out another 2 of the Necron Warriors. The Captain here took out 1 of these guys. And then we've just played a stratagem called Fainting Withdrawal, which is worth 1 command point, and you can use that when a White Skies unit from your army falls back. That unit can still shoot this turn. So we're going to shoot the Redemptor Dreadnought. Now we're doing the Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon into the Necron Warriors here. We're doing the Icarus Rocket Pod into the Annihilation Barge. The Heavy Flamers going into that squad, and then the Fragstorm Grenade Launchers are both going into this squad. So let's do the Gatling Cannon first. So these are hitting on a 5 because he's degraded. So no Captain close enough to reroll, so that's 5 hits. These are strength 5, I believe. So toughness 4, 3s to wound. Okay, 3 wounds, and then a -1 AP, so it's a 5-up save. Okay, so they do manage to save 2. That's another one killed. I pre-rolled for the what was it? The Fragstorm Grenade Launchers and got 8. It's Assault D6, so I've got 8 shots. These are hitting on 5s. So 3 hits. Strength is 4, so 4s to wound. 2 wounds. There's no AP, so it's a 4-up save, and they are both saved. Also pre-rolled for the heavy flamer. They're auto hits, so strength is 5, so 3's to wound, 3 wounds, and -1 AP, so 5's to save. Okay, so it's another 2 of the Necron warriors killed, so that leaves Imatech and 1 Necron warrior. And then finally it was the Icarus rocket pod, which is heavy D3 going into the Annihilation barge. Pre-rolled that and rolled a 1, so this hits on a 5, which it does. Strength is 7, so I needed to add 1 to that because that unit can fly, but it got a 6 anyway, so that's fine. Strength 7, so it doesn't wound. Right, so that is the end of shooting for the Space Marines. It's charges next, and I'm going to say that there are no charges. And because there's nothing actually in combat at the moment, there is also no fight phase. So that is the end of Space Marines turn number 4. So as it's the end of the turn, we're going to loot that objective. Not that it has to be the end of the turn to loot an objective, you can do it at any point. So that is 2 points. Defend objective 2, well objective 2 is gone. Feigned retreat, we've already scored that point. Clean kill, that was for Imatech, we haven't scored that yet. And then score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy model was destroyed as a result of an attack made by White Scar's model from your army that advanced this turn. No, we didn't score that one, unfortunately. So we've got 3 points this time round. So that puts us on 8 for the Space Marines compared to 9 for the Necrons. Just need to draw 3 more cards. So secure objective 3, well that is gone. Secure objective 2 is gone. And secure objective 1 is gone. So that leaves the Space Marines for turn 5 with taking out Imatech and advancing and then destroying an enemy unit. So let's do the orbital bombardment. Now there's only 2 units that are eligible for this. Number 1 is the Dreadnought. Ooh, no, he's okay. And then the Doom Scythe, and he's okay as well. Whoops. Okay, that's the end of battle round 4. Necron's turn 5 is coming up. Right, Necron's turn 5. We've got reanimation protocols for 9 of these Necron warriors. And we get, well, that's not bad. So we get 6 of those come back. And then there's 1 solitary green base Necron warrior right there. And he's coming back as well. Not too shabby. So end of the movement phase for the Necrons. The Night Shroud has moved across to here. Because you can only turn up to 90 degrees. I should have timed it a bit better and got a bit more of a sweep on it coming up from there to enable it to get back into the central area for that extra point. Unfortunately that hasn't happened, so not going to get a point for that. In terms of other units, the Cryptek has just moved forwards just to get into charge range of this captain. I think there's going to be quite a big heavy melee going on there shortly, and then these units after the advance will be done. They've got to within charge range of the Warlord, so we want to try and get those 4 wounds off him this turn. So that's the end of the movement phase. It's shooting next. Well, at the end of the shooting phase, the Space Marines have actually done pretty well. The Night Shroud shot at the Dreadnought and managed to take off 3 wounds. However, this guy has lost 2 wounds through shooting from these units. Could have been a lot worse. The units just down here shot into the Hellblasters and literally did no damage. and then the Annihilation Barge shot across at the Redemptor, and the Redemptor has just unbelievably held on for 3 turns at I think 1 wound. Absolutely fantastic saves for the Redemptor, so he's still going strong. That's the end of the shooting phase. It's the charge phase. So charges are over. Imatech charged the Chapter Master. Chapter Master scored 1 hit on Overwatch but no wounds, and then well, it's a multi-charge actually, and then the Necron Warriors charged in as well. And then over here, no hits on Overwatch for the Necron Warriors charging in, and then the Cryptek and the Overlord have charged into that captain as well. So that's the end of charges. It's the fight phase next. So I've just remembered that in the shooting phase I didn't fire the Gauntlet of Fire for Imatech, which is a 8-inch range assault D6 weapon. Yeah, I need to remember that if he's got an option to shoot it next time round. But anyway, Imatech into the Chapter Master, so assault 3 for his Staff of the Destroyer. Sorry, no, it's a melee weapon, isn't it? So 3 attacks, hitting on 2s. So they all hit, and it's strength 6 versus toughness 4, so 3s, and they all wound. Now this is -3 AP, so this is going to go against the 3+ invuln save for Cataphracti Armour and Iron Halo. So 3+ to save. Right, so 1 goes through, and that does 2 wounds worth of damage. So that puts him down. Whoops, where's he gone? 2 wounds remaining. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight back with the captain. So he gets 4 attacks, and this is with his chain fist. So these hit on 2s. Actually, they don't. They hit on 3s. Gets to re-roll. So that's 4 hits. Strength is 8. So versus toughness 5. It's a 3 to wound. So we get 3 wounds. And this is -4 AP. Now, Imatech has a 4-up invuln. Wow, so he saves 2 of those, but he takes 2 wounds in the process. So that drops Imatech from 6 down to 4 wounds. Now, having just looked back over that captain fighting, he actually rolled a 6. Now, this detachment that he's in has Whirlwind of Rage, which means any melee melee weapon where a model was charged, did charge, or performed a heroic intervention, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So I'm going to roll for that now. So it's a 3 to wound, and it does wound. And so it's a invuln for Imatech, which he fails. So that is another 2 wounds off of Imatech, dropping him down to 2. So at the end of the fight phase, the Necron Warriors here fail to do any damage, and the Librarian in return took out 1. And then over here, the Captain in Gravis Armour has lost another 2 wounds. However, he's managed to take out the Cryptek on the return attack. So that's the end of Necron's turn number 5. So let's have a look at the objectives. So at the end of turn 5, we had secure objective 1, which we couldn't achieve. Defend objective 1, we couldn't achieve. Okay, so I need to see if Imatech is alive at the end of the game to score that point, and then score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy unit was completely destroyed this turn, which unfortunately has not happened. So the Necrons remain on 9 points at the end of their turn 5. However, we've got the mission victory conditions to add up as well. So let's do Space Marines turn 5, and then we'll add up the points at the end. Space Marines movement phase for turn 5 is complete. Hellblasters have just shunted forwards to give the Dreadnought room to advance up to here, just to get into charge range of Imatech. The Redemptor, who's bracketed and has only got a move of 4, did an advance on him and managed to get him around to here. Reason for that advance is run them down. So if I can destroy at least one enemy model as a result of one of those units that has advanced, I get a victory point. So that's the end of movement. Psychic phase. The Librarian is going to do a smite, and it's going to have to go on to the Necron Warriors, and he gets that on a 7 for D3 mortal wounds, and he gets the big 3-0. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do, I think we're going to do Lightning Storm again, and again that's closest enemy model, so it's going to be, or closest enemy unit, so it's going to be the Necron Warriors again. Goes off on a 7, which it does. D3 mortal wounds for 1. If that unit is not destroyed, roll a D6 on a 4+, suffers another mortal wound, which it does not. So we've taken out one more of those Necron Warriors. That's the end of Psychic. It's the shooting phase next. Shooting phase for the Space Marines is complete. So we've had shots coming from the bikers into the Night Shroud, and they've managed to knock him down to 10 wounds. Fire from the Predator and the Hellblasters took the Annihilation Barge down to 2 wounds. We had some overcharging going on here and luckily didn't roll any 1s. The Redemptor attempted to shoot at the Annihilation Barge, and although it scored hits, managed to deal no damage. So that's the end of shooting. Charges are next. Now we're going to charge the Dreadnought into Imatech, and we're going to charge the Redemptor into Imatech as well, just to see if we can take him out. Which is, one is in, and he should be in. Let me just double check that range. 5 inches, yeah, he's in as well. I'll sort that out and then I'll come back to you. So end of the fight phase for turn 5 for the Space Marines. Imatech has been killed. Combined attacks from the Dreadnought and the Chapter Master. And then the last Necron Warriors have been taken out by the Librarian. This guy did no damage. And then over here, the Captain has managed to stay alive. He's taken 3 wounds off of the Overlord. These guys then attacked and managed to get 1 wound off him, which he didn't save. We did a command point reroll and he saved it, so he's alive on 1 wound. So that is the end of the battle. In terms of victory points for the Space Marines, they get D3 victory points for killing Imatech. So let's see how many we get for that. Okay, so they get the big 3-0, and they also get 1 for run them down, because the Dreadnought advanced, and that was what killed Imatech. So we get 3 plus 1 is 4. That puts the Space Marines up to 12 points. So at the end of the battle, the Space Marines finish on 12 victory points, and the Necrons finish on 9. The Space Marines get an additional 1 for Slay the Warlord, which puts them on 13, so that's 13-9. The Necrons get 3 points, 1, 2, 3 for their units within the central area, so that puts them on 12. So it's still 12-13, and then the Space Marines get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they get an additional 8, so that puts them on 21. So it ends 21-12 to the Space Marines. That's the end of the battle. If you want to have a go at this this mission, then I will leave a link in the video description, which will take you to my Google Drive, and you'll be able to download this mission plus the other 5 that make up Fires of Anarchy at the same time. Hope you've enjoyed the battle, and I'll see you all soon.